Needless Things Podcast.
Adventure. Apparently the 10-year-old old Mac, that's not going to cut it for Skype anymore.
No, it doesn't like that one. That's
not
crazy.
so much. Not so much, buddy.
So every time I see something about the new Terminator movie, all I see is Terminator fart take. and now you will too.
You know what? Thank you for that. That's nice. I try to just ignore Terminator news these days because I don't know. I feel like it's just that relationship that's always going to disappoint. You know, we just can't do this anymore, Terminator.
I don't even like the second one anymore.
You know, that one, like, I remember when it came out, kind of loving it. Well,
yeah.
Love is a strong word, but thinking it was really cool and stuff. But as the years went on, it was like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. The Terminator's not your fucking friend. What the hell's this shit? He will not stop until you are dead.
Well, and Edward Furlong is so bad, and their big latest announcement was that he's in the new one, and I was like, that's not enticement.
I know, like it's good news or something.
No, it's not at all. Oh, hey, there it is.
I'm getting my big chair. I stole, Brody always steals my bigger chair for his production stuff here on his iMac, and I stole the chair back to sit at the old computer, and now, you know, now we've come full circle.
Now you got to sit at the fancy pants modern computer.
It's true. It's true. You know, you do what you got to do, I guess. We only need like 4 or 5 Macs in this fucking house.
Well, you're a big time Hollywood director.
I'm not. I wish I was, so I could afford all these Macs.
So I want to talk about Troublemaker a little bit.
Okay.
And I want to talk about the fact that first of all, let's talk about some of the festivals that you submitted to.
Right.
The most recent of which, I think Scum Dance was the last one.
Hang on. You know what? I need to have all this shit sitting in front of me.
I thought you just knew all this stuff.
I don't. I've been telling Kim for a while, like, I really hope that you are excited about changing my diapers in my old age, because I'm terrible at remembering shit now.
Oh, I have no memory whatsoever. I've like, half the reason I started the site, and I think we talked about this a little bit, was that I didn't remember, like, anything from my childhood. So I was trying to jog my memory and have some kind of archive of things that happened to me.
Yep. Yeah, it's bad, man. I don't know. I can't remember anything, so I'm really... Like, I literally am just kind of doing my best to keep up with what the fuck is going on with anything. Hang on a second. Let me log into Film Freeway so I can actually look at what is what.
So, yeah, memory-wise, I'm not too bad with stuff that's happening now. But, like, when I found all my old concert tickets a few months ago in a box, I kept just about every concert I'd ever been to was in there. Like, from the first one I went to with, like, just my friends. My parents didn't take us or anything.
Right.
Which was Metallica at the Omni in, I can't remember if it was 90 or 91. I have that ticket.
Christ.
And then I've got probably 80% of the shows that I went to that required a ticket anyway. You know, that wasn't obviously pay cash at the door or whatever. And man, there was so much shit I didn't remember at all. So many bands that I was like, oh shit, I've seen them?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I'll see a ticket or something like that, or, you know, see some flyer, like, holy shit, I was at that. It's all fading, and that's okay. Whatever. I'll be an old man. Somebody will wheel me around and tell me about my own glory days. I can't wait.
I just wish the bad things would fade.
Yeah, well,
like the
that's
embarrassing
the stuff
shit.
That's about. I'll forever remember that time I was awkward in front of, you know, some celebrity or something like that. But I won't remember, like, the good times. You know, the fun, the time I actually played it cool in front of some celebrity. That won't happen.
Yeah, I barely remember the first time I saw Anthrax, but I very, very clearly remember asking a girl out in 9th grade.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, brain. So,
okay.
You submitted Trouble. Now, what's the deal with submitting to these film festivals?
Are we being recorded, or is this informational?
That we are being recorded. So this is public. This is for public perception.
I'm just trying to figure out like how in depth I need to get. Like, is this really for your knowledge? Okay. So basically, what happens is once you finish a film, there's a couple of sites that do it. I use Film Freeway, and they kind of all the film festivals kind of come to these sites. It's like a directory of them, and they tell you when the deadlines are and all that. Basically, I have to pay money for every festival I submit to. Whether I get in or not, that's a different issue. So, that's why, like, when you get in, I always announce it, because it's like, hell yeah, I got into this thing. I paid $50 3 months ago to, I got in. Hooray for me.
Is this a shakedown?
Yeah, more or less.
I'll tell you right now, I have no money because I just spent it all on stress relief onions.
God, I hope you're not kidding about that, too. I really want a needlessthingspodcast.com onion. So you get into the film festival, hopefully, and once you get in, some of them are just kind of, all right, you got in, hooray, we showed your film. Some of them have like awards and stuff like that, best editing, audience award, best feature, whatever it is. So that's so we've had some luck on that. The Mayday Film Festival up in Indiana, we got Best Feature Film Award. The Scumdance recently, we got Best Feature Film. And I went to the one in Indiana, Mayday, wanted to go to Scumdance, but I had surprise surgery come up on me last month, so I just couldn't justify that $600 plane ticket plus hotel and everything else. With impending medical bills coming down on me. So I ended up skipping on that one. I hated it, but because it seemed like a cool deal.
Yeah, I actually looked into, I've looked at a couple of them just to see like what they are and what goes on. And that one, like, it seemed like it would have been a really cool thing to be at. I honestly would have thought about it a lot harder if I didn't already have a prior commitment the next day in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That 1 day round trip to Nevada is a little much.
And that was part of it because, my wife and I were talking about, hey, it'd be fun to just fly in. I was like, yeah, but for the two of us to fly in there, we're going to spend at least, $1,300, $1,400 most likely. And then the meals and all the stuff you don't think about. I mean, even just driving up to Indiana, that we had to get a hotel room for the night, the meals, the gas, the this, the that. And it's worth it to me if I have the time and I have a little extra cash floating around, but I couldn't justify it. But now I'm game to fly to Japan or whatever, surgery's over. I paid off those medical bills. I'm on top of the world right now, okay?
Excellent.
Throw it at me, America. What do you got?
Yeah, I think we're going to be really big in Singapore.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
I think
absolutely.
That's going to be huge.
I'm on it.
I'm expecting this to be a really big phenomenon in the East, I think.
That's the way it always goes.
Yeah.
Like some weird niche market out in, I don't know, Japan or Tokyo or someplace like that. You always hear about these metal bands. They have a huge following out there, but they can't get 10 people in the audience here in New York or something.
I would be so delighted if Troublemaker hits really, really big in some country that I haven't even heard of. Just in one little tiny place, if they just think I'm great, I would be very happy.
Look, let's be honest. We all think you're great. You're the best.
Stop.
You're the best ever. I want you to know that from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you very much. I think you're the best as well. You have a deep well of love and sincerity buried beneath your grumble dick exterior.
It's true. It's true. Despite my hatred for all your favorite things.
That's also true. I linked the trailer for 3 from Hell the other day, and I was like, I bet Wilson won't say anything about it this time.
That's right. I learned my lesson talking smack about that Rob Zombie because I know he's your hero.
Well, it's like if I post it in the podcast group, then I kind of want everybody to be cool about it. Like Arian posted about, Taika Waititi's new Thor, which, I didn't like the last one. And I'm not going to say anything about it there, because
You didn't like the last Thor? Hang on a second.
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok.
You didn't like that?
No.
Okay, continue.
I just, the jokey stuff pissed me off.
All right.
Like when Asgard, the legendary home of an entire race of people, was destroyed, and somebody made like a fart joke on top of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to find a little light in the darkness, Dave.
I felt like the whole movie was that. And look, I love the aesthetics and everything, but I just overall, I didn't. That's not for me. But I do think it was smart of Marvel to bring him back, obviously, because people love that movie. Like, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
But if it's in my personal, like if it's just me sharing something, that's fair game.
Sure.
So if I any Rob Zombie stuff I share, on my own timeline, you feel free to go after it. Matter of fact, at that point, I'm probably baiting you.
I bit my lip on that one. I was just kind of holding my tongue, because it was just like, you're obviously just throwing this out there just to mess with me. Because surely no one in America cares about Rob Zombie movies anymore, but here we are. Because there were like at least 10 people in my timeline that I kept seeing is it 3 from Hell?
3 from Hell, yeah.
Yeah, I kept seeing that pop up. I haven't even watched the trailer. I don't need to. I've seen enough of his movies. If you've seen one, you've seen every one of his movies.
I'll be honest, you don't need to watch the trailer. I bet you could describe it without even seeing it.
Yeah, I feel the same about his music too. I'm sure if you just say yeah over and over again, you've got whatever new song he's got.
He's even said like his lyrics are just words he thinks sound cool.
Well, I mean, he's got his thing, I mean,
right.
Things I like that people are going to say the same thing. The Ramones, people are going to be like, you've heard the one song, you've heard them all, and I get it. So, I mean, sometimes you just gravitate towards certain things, and you're willing to forgive the repetitive nature of it or whatever, and whatever.
Yeah, it's just different stuff clicking for different people. But you
and I will say, by the way, not to interrupt you, I will say I've toned down on the grumble dick aspect a lot, and I've told people this. Making this movie with you, watching your optimism and your openness to just everything, and the fact that, some people just don't like what I like, and that's cool. Like, that was your attitude of watching you do that in interviews and stuff, and kind of, like, it wasn't just like lip service, watching you interact with people, like at Dragon Con or wherever we were out at, it was a real thing for you. You actually are very, very kind to people's other opinions, even if yours differ. And I took something from that. Like, I could take it down a notch or two. Like, you're just so open to everyone's ideas and everyone's, you're just so nice. You're such a great guy.
I try to be. Look, here's where that comes from. I don't want to be the guy that makes somebody feel stupid or bad for liking something.
Oh, see, I'm different. I feel you should be punished for these horrible opinions.
Because when you see interviews with actors and they talk poorly about older movies that they were in, and let's say Kurt Russell did an interview and mentioned Big Trouble in Little China, and he was like, "Yeah, what an embarrassing piece of shit that is." Like,
right.
I hate that. That's terrible when actors do that.
It's Burt Reynolds after Boogie Nights. Like, before it had even come out, Burt Reynolds popped out saying that this was garbage. He couldn't believe he did it. And he had no career at this point, really, from my recollection of the later 90s. He just didn't have a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
And he talked so much smack about this movie, which is one of my favorite movies. I love Boogie Nights. So, feel free to judge. But anyway, it came out and it was a huge hit. And I remember thinking at the time, like, this guy just has to sit there and eat crow now. And if I remember right, and I could be wrong, I want to say he was nominated for an Oscar or some kind of award based on that. Maybe not an Oscar, but he was nominated for something based on his performance in Boogie Nights. Now, I thought this guy has done very little in a long time This comes along, gives him another shot, is huge for him, and he's now been recorded as talking about how it's garbage and nobody should see it. Like, what is going on with you, man?
Yeah, never bury your own stuff, because you're like, at worst, you're making yourself look bad in staining part of your legacy, but you're also alienating a certain segment of your fans. And it happens in music as well when artists look back. I will never. There's a hip hop group called De La Soul. And I love their first 3 albums. They're I think 3 of the best hip-hop albums of all time, some of my favorites. And a few years ago, they were really talking down about them, about how they were just whack, the rhymes weren't good, the beats were lame. And it made me feel really dumb for liking them so much. And I mean, not really. I still loved those albums, but it was just like, man, what the hell? Like, so this stuff's not good? And then a few years later, when the industry had dried up, these guys didn't have any money to make anything anymore. All of a sudden, they're using imagery and art, and they're trying to bring back those old fans who made them big in the first place by doing a Kickstarter for a new album. And it's all that old school art, and all of a sudden, for some reason, that stuff's cool again. And I was like, no, you got no sale here, because you spent years burying that stuff. Yeah. And now I feel like this is a disingenuous attempt to get people back. And that's why I don't think there's, there's garbage out in the world. And look, I'm not Pollyanna all the time. Every once in a while, something outrages me so much that I have to say something about it, or something like when I do have a negative opinion, I make it very clear that it's my opinion and that I don't expect everybody to be on board. Like, I don't say, this is stupid. I say, I think this is stupid. Like, I try to make it very clear, like, I'm not the be-all, end-all. This is just what I think. Maybe I don't get it, whatever. But there's just rarely a benefit to negativity. If it's that bad, just
makes your dark heart feel good, though. I mean, ask Arian. He's on board with me.
Oh my gosh, old negative Nelson.
Well, he says in the movie at one point, what is it? He said, "I rarely give things a first chance." Something like that. We were talking about Kroll.
Yes,
when you guys were watching that.
Oh gosh, and the fact that us watching that turd. And that is one of the things I will be blatantly negative about, because it's the worst movie ever made. Worse than It's Pat.
Thanks, Bo Brown.
Worse than Things. The fact that turd is us watching it is immortalized in Troublemaker is really magical.
Yeah. It's so beautiful.
So I don't want to get too deep into the filming, because we'll talk about that later on. But I do want to talk a little bit, since we're discussing. Now we're in the post. I guess it's not necessarily post-release. I mean, people out there have seen it, and generally, it's gotten a generally positive response so far, right?
I haven't heard anything negative, but
and these are people that don't know us,
right? That's. Even like, sometimes I won't get accepted to a festival. It just happens. Part of the problem with festivals also that I didn't really get into before was I anticipated with you and I talked originally about we weren't going to have a time length on this thing. And in terms of like, is it going to be a feature? Is it going to be a short or whatever?
Well, yeah, there was a point where we thought it might be 15 minutes.
Yeah, we weren't sure where it was going to go. And part of that idea was I didn't want to try to stretch to make anything good. If it wasn't, if we didn't have that much material, because I really didn't know what we were going to do. I had no idea following you for a year where this would all go. So it was kind of like, what, if we get a good 10-minute short out of this, let's go with it. Let's go with, quantity over quality. No, quality over quantity. That was my approach on Stopper. But let's go for quality over quantity and see what we come away with. Part of my thinking, I was kind of hoping it might be shorter, because getting into a festival, if you've got a short, you get into festivals much easier because they can fit in that 10-minute short.
Right,
they get a bunch of them. Features, a lot of times, especially if it's a one day, a lot of times festivals are, 2 or 3 days, a weekend kind of thing. But if it's especially a one day thing, they only have so much time for a feature film.
And this is it 55?
Yeah, this is about 56 minutes.
56, okay.
Just shy of 56, I think. But yeah, so it's considered a feature when I put it into things. And I would get notes back from festivals that we didn't get accepted to that, this was really great, just didn't have enough time for it, I'm sorry. And, other notes from places that did take us that would say something like they really loved you and they felt like you were kind of this local hero and, this everyman, and following you was a lot of fun. It's gone over pretty well so far. I haven't had anybody, tell me that it's the worst piece of shit they've ever watched yet. But
that's because they've all seen Krull, obviously.
They all scrambled. Like, I tried to blur the cover when you held it up. And it was a quick blur. There's a few After Effects shots I wish I'd spent more time on now, but with art, you have to learn when to just pull the plug. But anyway, you do see the cover at some other point. I thought about that. Like, I bet there are people who have never heard of Krull that are going to go pursue this now. Like, they'll watch this movie and think, I wonder what movie they're watching. Hey, this Troublemaker guy seems like a lot of fun and he's real smart. Obviously, he wouldn't watch shitty movies. We've helped Krull along just a little bit further.
Oh no, that's terrible. We must burn it. Put all the copies in a can and burn them.
That's right.
Like a 40s detective flick trying to burn the evidence. That's how digital works, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Replacements tried to do it. They broke into the studio the record label that recorded all their stuff and tried to throw it all into the river. They didn't realize there were backups because they decided they didn't like somebody else making money off their stuff, and they were drunk and thought it would be funny to just get rid of all the master copies of their records. I support that. Awesome. Somebody should do that with Krull. Whoever directed that piece of shit should go and throw that thing in the river.
So, at this point, we're still going out to festivals and everything.
Yeah.
We haven't technically had what I would consider to be a world premiere, I guess.
No, and you're really not supposed to yet. Generally, festivals don't like for you to have had a showing. And that's
really?
part of why. Well, this will be where you're going with this. This will be fine because it's a limited showing. They don't like a big, release. Usually, you have to do the festival circuit first, but for something like this, it's okay.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about here is something that's actually been in the works for several months because that's how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be holding the world premiere of Troublemaker live at DragonCon. What better place to do it, right?
Agreed.
As part of the American Sci-Fi Classics track, the place that gave me my DragonCon and really my convention presence start. Saturday at 10 p.m. at DragonCon. The proceedings will be hosted by Mike Gordon, and we're going to show the movie, and then we're going to have a short Q&A. I say short. We'll see how it goes.
Obviously, by this podcast alone, we know that I'll ramble on and on about anything for a while, so it may be lengthy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how many Q's get up in the A's.
That's right.
But yeah, we're going to do a Q&A after the movie, and as we said, it's under an hour, so we'll be, it'll be standard panel length. We'll go a little bit longer than a regular panel, but we won't keep you past midnight because we've got to get over and see Cybertronic Spree after this thing is done.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm very, very excited because DragonCon is absolutely my home away from home. I have experienced so many things there. A lot of them are now on film. And there's just no more appropriate place for Troublemaker to first be seen by the public. And like you said, it is closed. There's no additional fee or anything if you've got your DragonCon badge. You can get in to see it if you can get into the room. And I realize it may sound kind of crazy for me to suggest that the room might fill up, but I thought it was crazy to suggest that the game show would pack a room, and every single year we ended up with a bigger room that filled up, and we turned people away at the door. So, I don't know that Troublemaker will necessarily have the draw because it's just not as established.
Right.
But also, I would say if you want to see it in the perfect environment with the perfect group of people, and you want what may be the only live Q&A with me and Wilson, and some of the other people that were part of Troublemaker, then make a point of getting out to it. Now, Wilson, when I first mentioned, because it was a few months ago, I had talked to Joe and Gary about this possibility. I think I mentioned it to you first because I didn't want to ask them without your blessing.
Sure.
What was your first thought when I said, let's do this at Dragon Con?
Oh, it seemed like the perfect venue to me. I mean, half the movie is Dragon Con, is you wandering around doing the panels and everything. And that wasn't necessarily the intention, at least at this point. But, I mean, obviously, this is the crowd for it. These are the people that you may even see yourself there. You know, I mean, we've got shots of, I hired a guy to wander around as a second unit camera, just getting footage of the festival itself. So you may see people you recognize and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's at least 30 minutes of this film is spent at Dragon Con. So it'll be kind of neat to take that, that little time travel back to 2000. Shit, was it 2017?
2017, that's right.
Wow.
Because it was the last year of the Dirty Con game show.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah.
Man, I wish we had filmed the big damn game show, but, some things are just lost to time.
Outside of the year, man.
Yeah, it was. Year. And that was, it was like when we say a year, it was a legit year. You started in October at the Puck and Fuppet Show in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And
went into September.
Yeah, September at Dragon Con of 2017.
Yep. With a near-death experience right in the middle, just to
Yeah, you had some unfortunate incidents, and I it's something like that. I think it's easy when, like, some famous person that doesn't have other commitments gets followed around. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But when it's two regular people trying to coordinate something like this,
it was tough.
Yeah. I mean, it really was, because the first thing is I don't, as much as you can sit and watch Troublemaker and get this sense that I do a lot of stuff, I don't. It doesn't come up all the time because I'm working or I'm spending time with the family or whatever. So these events, like, I'm sure people watching the documentary are going to get the idea, like, wow, look at this guy's crazy party life. But it's really not.
Yeah.
And sometimes this stuff happens last minute. Sometimes, I'm focused on, I'm going to show up and be the crazy guy that with the microphone and does the thing. And then, like, halfway through it, I'm like, oh, I probably should have called Wilson.
There were many events that I saw on Facebook, and I thought, wow, that would have been awesome to shoot. But it is what it is. I think what we came away with is perfectly fine. If you'd done more events, the film may have been 2 hours, and we'd gotten into less film festivals then. So, whatever.
And it would have been, you may have gotten twice as much footage, but I don't know that it necessarily would have been any longer, because what you put together is the important stuff. Like, it tells the story of what I try to do.
It would have become, and you'll see a couple of kind of, we laugh at the idea of montages, but there are kind of montage-ish kind of things that are cut together quickly to tell the story. Dragon Con's a perfect example. There's stuff that's just cut quickly. So we could see the story of you being there, but we don't have to spend every second watching every conversation and stuff.
You don't need to see me check into the hotel and bring my bags up to the room and all
exactly. That. Or even like the full interviews. You had interviews that I have like really good audio of, and I have the majority, if not all of them, a lot of times. You know, you interviewing the Kyoto brothers or Kane or whatever it is, but it was like, well, how much do we need to see of that?
Right.
Like, we're not telling the story of Kane or the Kyoto brothers. We're telling the story of Dave. So let's just show that he arrived, he's interviewing them, then we can move on to the next thing. Like, each thing had a quick little thing. And I feel like if we'd shot for another year, or I'd shot every other event you did, that's all that would have ended up happening, was there would have been a lot more of just fast cut things just to show that you've got this active lifestyle, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Right,
So,
I
think we got what we needed.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And look, believe me, I'd love to have everything that I do publicly like that. I'd love to have it all documented, but it's just not necessary.
No.
Just like the Big Damn Game Show, like it was the culmination of everything that I had done like that, and it was very special, and everybody that was there to see it saw it, and that's it. And I'm kind of okay with that. Yeah,
and that's that. It's Bill Stevenson, the drummer for the Descendants, in their documentary. He talks about the fact that, he went on to do All after the Descendants, and he's like, and it wasn't as popular. And he says, but where is it written?
Hang on, your audio just dropped out. Oh no, what's happening? I can't even type a message? Wilson's doing something. I don't know if I'll leave this in or not. We'll find out. I got a thumbs up.
You there?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
What was that?
I'm on a wire. See, when you're fancy like me, you use a wireless lavalier.
I don't even know what that word means.
The clip-on mic.
Yeah. You'd think I'd be more familiar with that.
That's why I can walk all around the room and you can still hear me well. Because that's the kind of microphone I have.
I wondered why you sounded so good.
Yeah. Well, it's the same microphone you were wearing the whole time in the documentary. So there you go. We came full circle.
Oh, beautiful.
Now you're interviewing me on the same mic I interviewed you on.
Oh, my gosh. This is magic.
I know, right? Well, what I was saying was basically that when the Bill Stevenson moved on from Descendants to All, he was saying that, even though it wasn't as popular, there's no rule that I have to have 1,000 adoring fans at every show. If I have 10 fans show up, hey, that's cool. I have fans. And it's cool. I entertain some people, and no big deal,
Yeah.
Not everything has to be a home run, It's okay to, take it down a notch or two sometimes. It doesn't have to be 1 million people packed in.
Well, and I think you have to be okay with that because that's just how it, the creative process isn't, it's about the learning. It's about the journey and doing the thing. It's not necessarily about the reception.
Yeah.
And, even if the game show had never drawn like it did, and look, I'm not real big on patting myself on the back, but that game show, the fact that we built it up from nothing and it turned into what it did, I'll go to my grave intensely proud of that, because that's to draw at Dragon Con Saturday night the way that we did is crazy. I would go so far as to say it's unprecedented.
Look,
for us to be a bunch of, we're not celebrities. I mean, Dana, she has a name, but the people that were there weren't necessarily there to see Sarah from Toonami.
Right. That's something that I think I tried to make clear in the documentary. I didn't know what the game show was. I'm not a Dragon Con person. I don't know I don't go to it often. I used to take my oldest son when he was a little bit younger. We'd go and, we'd buy a bunch of stuff. We'd go watch Danger Woman perform, and then we'd go home. I had no idea what you were going to do that night. I'd never seen it before. I'd never seen footage. I'd never even seen photos. I'd seen after-party photos of you guys in costumes, but I didn't know what I was in for. So I was amazed at the show you guys did, how much detail and work went into it, and just all the logistics I know go into pulling something like that off. I was amazed at how many people were there and how much people loved it. I really, I was almost in tears. I was so proud for you watching it go down like that because, at the same time I'm thinking, hell, this is the great ending for my movie now. We could build to this because this is awesome. Well, up to that point, up until Dragon Con, honestly, and I think I told you this, I wasn't sure I didn't know what we had with this documentary.
Right.
I really didn't know what to make of it or what to do with it. And that was something you and I had discussed many times was, you know what? Let's not even announce this is going on. Let's not tell anybody that we're doing this or anything. Let's kind of keep this down low. And that way, you know what, at the end of this year, if we come away with no footage or we come away with nothing that we can really put together into something, at worst, you've got some really pretty footage of you doing things that you can just keep forever. So what? And I feel like the fact that we had no pressure on us to make something happen actually lent itself to the project in a way. It made it that much better that we were able to relax and take our time and deal with it without any expectations of it.
Well, and at no point were you, now there were certain interview things where you knew what to go for when we were doing the actual interview segments, but at no point were you hey, you should punch this up a little bit, or hey, let's focus on this a little bit more. It was very, very organic and just let's do what we're doing and shoot it, and that's it.
Well, I've done a lot of documentary stuff over the last 20 years or so, and most of it has been for the cable network I worked for, whatever, and it would be the history of Easter, things like that. As exciting as that sounds. And but I always had set questions. And with you, I actually have questions that I've typed out, and I carried them in my camera bag every time, and we never pulled those questions out. I never asked any of them. I would have something on my mind that I thought we should go with, but more often than not, we were just shooting, and it was just whatever came to my mind, and you're such a good talker that you would kind of flow in such a way. You made it really easy because you flow the way you talk into a new subject that made sense, or you would it would be oh, okay, well, tell me more about that. And you didn't get too lengthy in your stories. You kept them as opposed to me. You kind of you would self-edit a little bit, and it made it easy to deal with the footage and with your stories and things like that. So I mean, yeah, the interviews were very, like you said it best, organic. We really didn't just sit there. Usually, I do a lot of lighting and stuff. There was no lighting in any of our interviews. I just had good enough lenses to just capture you in the natural lighting in your basement or whatever. I think once we did shoot out in front of that theater with an on-camera light I had.
Yeah.
But that's it. Otherwise, usually when I do a shoot with an interview, there's at least 2 hours before we get to the interview of me there working, getting everything set up and doing all that. I didn't even shoot with a tripod. I mean, I just went handheld on all our interviews and stuff. And sometimes that, I wasn't as happy with that in the editing room, but it is what it is.
I try to be conscious of my audience, and I try to be conscious of who I'm working with, and I try to never hog the spotlight. I want the audience to feel like they're part of what's going on, and part of that is making sure I'm not just droning.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as if I'm up on stage with somebody, I want everyone to be the star. I'm not trying to be the guy, and I think that's sort of where my brevity comes from a little bit. Is I want to. I just want to get the thought out there. I'm not talking to make sure I'm getting my time talking. I'm talking to say whatever and then to kick it over to whoever the other person is.
And anybody that's listened to your podcast knows that. You know, you're good at what you do, and you're very smart about the way you interview people, the way you talk. You know, it's not just rambling, incoherent nonsense, which is, I've had friends that have done podcasts that I've listened to, and I've thought, man, where are we going with this? And if I did a podcast, I'd be the exact same way, because I will just keep on going forever and ever.
Well, and I appreciate hearing that, because I try to be conscious of that. I don't want to bore people, and I don't want people to get the impression that I'm just interested in me talking.
Right. No, that's more my league. That's where I'm at.
So to wrap this little conversation up, because I don't want to hit everything now, because I really do. There are two things I want to do with Troublemaker. One, I want to do a legit commentary with you and me, watching the movie, doing a for real commentary, because I love movie commentaries, and that's like one of my dreams, to be on a for real commentary, and I never imagined it would be on like my own movie, but I want to do a real commentary. And of course, we also at some point are going to have to do a needless commentary.
Sure. With
the commentary team likely just giving me shit the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I want to hear Arian's thoughts on this.
Oh my gosh.
I especially want to hear Sean's thoughts. And by the way, not to get off track or anything, I do want to see Sean. The next time I see him, I need badly to see him do the New Kids on the Block dances that I heard in the 1989 podcast. I need this in the worst way.
Yeah,
so I just listened to this podcast yesterday or the day before.
We can make that happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, I might even do my best to assist, because I can't let that motherfucker hog the spotlight.
No.
So to wrap it up, August 1st was the official announcement. I realize now when this post, that'll be in the past, even though it's July 21st right now, and we're looking 11 days into the future. I'm not going to post this thing until probably halfway through August. So you guys already know that Troublemaker world premiere is going to be live at Dragon Con Saturday night, 10 p.m., in the American Sci-Fi Classics track room, unless we hear different. I will be there. Jason Wilson, director of Troublemaker, will be there. Yep. Mike Gordon will be hosting the event and moderating the Q&A afterwards, and we will have special guests from Troublemaker on stage with us to discuss the movie and answer your questions, and it's going to be awesome. And we're all probably, I'm going to be shit-faced. Are you going to be shit-faced?
There's a good chance of that.
Yeah, and then afterwards we're going to go see Cybertronic Spree play, because they are, look, I love Calabrese. They're legit one of my favorite bands, but Cybertronic Spree, greatest band I've ever seen at Dragon Con. 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, did I tell you?
Footage. I'm not very familiar with them. What little bit I've seen, they look amazing.
Well, here's the thing.
But I do, hang on, I do want to say, I mean, to me, Danger Woman is the most amazing thing I've ever at Dragon Con. And by the way, I'm still getting emails from her.
Oh, jeez,
she thinks I'm you.
I need to get a restraining order, I think. But real quick, Cybertronic Spree, this is for you, Wilson. The listeners can listen as well. This is for you.
Yes.
Cybertronic Spree, you know I love gimmicks.
Uh-huh.
They could get by on being a band that dresses up as Transformers and plays shitty songs. However, they could be just a band not dressed up as Transformers, and they would still have been badass. Like, they do the full-on 80s arena rock show with, like, kicks and posing and, like, crowd chatter. And, like, they're a badass band that happened to be Transformers.
That's so awesome.
They blew me away, because I went in very cynical, which is not like me, but I was just like, all right, they're going to play The Touch and they're going to play like, the songs from the Transformers soundtrack, and it's going to be really cool because they're in big robot suits. But dude, they were like, it was like seeing like Motley Crue. It was wild.
That's so awesome. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, and we're going to experience it after, and again for the listeners, the world premiere of Troublemaker at DragonCon. Wilson, do you have any final thoughts to share while we're doing this sort of preemptive media blitz?
No, I mean, I'm excited about it. No, I'm excited to unleash this on the world, let people see it, because I really, like I said earlier, I feel like this is kind of the audience. DragonCon is the perfect audience for this, so I'm excited to be a part of it.
Are you going to wear a suit?
No. I mean, that's not really my thing.
We'll work on it.
I don't think I own a suit anymore, to be honest with you.
Oh my gosh. What is
I
wrong
haven't had
with
to
you?
interview for a job in like 13 years. I mean, people know what they get with me.
Well,
I'm a scumbag.
We'll work on that.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for talking, man.
All right, man.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.